I Want to Dance with Somebody, which is the biopic of Whitney Houston, directed by Casey Lemons, who made Eve's Bayou and Black Nativity, and Harriet, about Harriet Tubman. So Naomi Ackie, who you will remember was one of the leads in that film that you interviewed Johnny Flynn for just recently.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
The name of which is The Score.
I remember, and Johnny Flynn was very good.
Johnny Flynn was very, very good. So she is Whitney Houston. Clark Peters, who I love, who I've had the privilege of interviewing, and he's just really
Top
great.
man.
He's a top man. Is her father, John Houston. Martin is her mother, Cissy Houston. And Stanley Tucci is Clive Davis. He's the man who signs Whitney to Arista, promises her that he will never get involved in her private life. He says, I don't get involved in the personal lives of my artists, but I will always be there for you musically, as in this clip, when he's helping her to find the right song.
Maybe? Why?
How will I know if he really loves me? I say a prayer with every heartbeat. You know, I could do something with the chorus, go up the key there, get more out of it.
Yeah, but that's not a reason to do a song. It's got to have a hook.
A hook?
Yeah.
I'll give it a hook.
Tucci looks amazing.
Yeah, I know. And I have to say, he has a really impressive selection of receding hairlines during the course of the movie, because obviously the movie goes over several years, indeed decades. So this feature follows in a number of documentaries and programs and articles about the life of Whitney Houston. So most recently we had the Kevin MacDonald documentary, which was 2018, which itself was preceded by the Nick Broomfield documentary, Whitney, Can I Be Me? And if you remember, because I think, did you interview Kevin MacDonald? You did, fine.
I did, yes.
And his film had the blessing of the Houston estate, which meant that they had an awful lot of archive footage, which I think Nick Broomfield didn't have access to. And Kevin MacDonald said, I think in that interview that you did with him, he said that he hadn't been a Whitney Houston fan, but her agent, Nicole David, had said to him, look, I don't understand why she ended the way she ended, and I want you to make a documentary to help me find out. And if you remember in that film, MacDonald comes up with what he calls a smoking gun.
Yes, he does.
And the smoking gun is a a really sort of horrifying thing at the end of it, which involves child abuse. Now, that does not feature in this film, and I have read subsequently that there has been some controversy about that particular smoking gun. What does feature in this biopic is her relationship with Robin Crawford, her marriage to Bobby Brown, the declaration that it wasn't Bobby Brown who introduced her to drugs, that precedes it, and the late period descent into the collapsing career, which the film works around rather cleverly by having a non-chronological structure in its third act, which enables it to end on a high note, because one of the things that the film is setting out to do is to correct a perceived imbalance, which is that everything else about Whitney Houston so far has been about what went wrong. And what this is trying to do is to go, well, these are the things that went right, and these are the things that she achieved. So you can see, I mean, I'm just reading this from having seen the film, so literally only just saw it. It's a film which is setting out to redefine the narrative, partly by restructuring it, but by saying, can we not just concentrate on the tragic elements? Can we also concentrate on the things? So we get all the highs. We get the early pop hits. We get the famous thing about being booed at the Soul Train Awards for being too milquetoast. And then we get the national anthem being sung at the Super Bowl, which, if you remember in that Kevin MacDonald documentary, there was a brilliant thing about changing it from a waltz time, a 3/4, to a 4/4, and what that actually meant, and taking its lead from Marvin Gaye. We get the thing, the script comes in when Stanley Tucci's character says, "Oh, there's a script for a movie. It's about a singer and her relationship with a bodyguard," and she throws it in the bin. And then she says, "Who's playing the bodyguard?" And he says, "Kevin Costner," and she gets it out of the bin and starts in that case, which is actually sort of very well done. Naomi Ackie's terrific. I mean, it's a very, very good performance by her. It gets the right ups and downs, and the design is good enough to make you think, Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's not. I'm watching a reconstruction rather than watching the original thing. It does have emotional high points, and what's fascinating about those high points, I teared up a few times, and most of the times that I teared up was when, Whitney was knocking a power ballad out of the ballpark, because that was something that, blimey. I mean, I've never been a big Whitney Houston fan, but wow, you kind of forget how much those things are spine-tingling. But 3 or 4 moments that I teared up, and they were all musical moments. They weren't moments of grief or, obviously there is grief and anguish in some of the music, but they were moments in which the music grabbed me and moved me. So I had gone in being slightly cynical about it. And I have to say, it's long. It's 2 hours, 20 minutes long. It's not the Buddy Holly story, but then very few things are. But it's pretty solid, and it was more upfront than I thought it was going to be.
Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's Take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.